Yeah, sure.
Now, the improved production cars are on their warm-up lap. Gary, you've been involved with these cars for a fair bit of time. Big field of cars and a very diverse field of cars for this event.
Sure is. And as I was alluding to before we went off to those pre-recorded segments, we had this great setup where we had these two Ford Falcons that were going to duke it out this weekend, and unfortunately Ray Hislop's car had no oil pressure when they fired it up for qualifying. So the car was running, but there was no oil pressure, and you know what that means. It was going to lunch itself at some stage, so they decided that they were going to pull the engine out, send it off to Queensland and where it was built. The car will go to New South Wales and wait for the engine to return, and they'll run the first round of state championship in New South Wales. Mainly for convenience sake, it's a good chance to run it. Another strong competitor would have been David Scalander in a Commodore, very high horsepower V8 of course, and unfortunately had to loop around down here at Murray's Corner and backed it into a wall. They fixed it up. They don't have a rear spoiler on it. Started off the rear of the grid in race 1, made some good progress, got up into about the 13th, 14th position. Ben Shoots, a Victorian in Mazda RX-7, looked like he was going to be a strong competitor as well. Unfortunately in practice they had a brush with the wall up the top of the mountain somewhere. Went through qualifying, didn't think there was anything wrong, and then they discovered that they had some other problems, so unfortunately they had to pull the pin as well. So we had a race yesterday with the Falcon on the front row, and just steamrolled them, just shot away, and probably the best performance would have been David Walden in the 808 Mazda, the white car, is second on the track at the moment. He came from 6th on the grid up to 2nd. Mark Short in the Datsun 1600 Turbo was 3rd, and then we had Watts in the other RX-7 who was home in 4th spot. Interesting car, Lee Forrest from Tasmania also in the Toyota Celica Turbo. That car has been to every improved productions nationals since the category was introduced. It's run as high as second spot. Never won one, but always in the top 3 or 4 cars running around.
We are aware of a lot of the Queenslanders having difficulty getting here because of the horrific events of the last few weeks with the flooding and then the cyclone. Any guys who have really done it tough to get here or who haven't made it here?
Not that I'm aware of. Pretty well intact, the original entry that we had back before Christmas, and most of them are here this weekend. Probably Leanne Tander was probably the only one, but as you know, she's now in the family way, and so obviously the motor racing will be put on a hold because you know, you can't have 2 people in one car. Even though one of them might be a little bit of a germination, you might say.
Well, you can't put the babysit in yet, that's what you're saying,
right.
mate.
Yeah, we haven't got the right belts for it.
All right, now let's run through them as they're going to line up for us, Gary, as they make their way down Conrod to set up on the grid.
Right, in position 1 on the grid will be the AU Falcon, the Newline Homes car of Rick Newman from Victoria. David Walden alongside him in the white 808 Mazda Coupe. On the second row we've got Mark Short and car 15, which is Graham Watts in the orange RX-7. Lee Forrest, Anthony Lofscalpo. Now that car was a production touring car, a Group 3E as we like to call it, but now has been improved, so it now becomes an improved production car in 3J configuration according to the CAMS manual. An interesting car, the next one there, car 47, that's Bruce Heinrich, well known in saloon car ranks in Falcons, and did a season in a Commodore. He's racing a Commodore this weekend, a HSV VZ. Alongside him, a similar car, Jim Policina, although his is a Group 3E car. Paul Rule in the Tirana A9X hatchback. Jamie Augustine, interesting car too. That's a Datsun 1200 Turbo. So even though it's in over 2 litre because of the turbo configuration. John Woodbury in the Mazda Mitsubishi Magna, I should say. And then of course we've got Lawrence in the Nissan, and Dave Scalander, which we spoke about. He's in that top 12 bracket there as well.
Gary, just looking at these cars, improved production for most people would say, well, I've got my Commodore, my Falcon, whatever, but all relatively new cars over the last 10 years. And yet we have a look through the field, we've got cars that date back to the 1970s. Is that a change for this weekend? No,
the cars, the category started out as road registered. Basically, whatever you can get a pink slip and road register, you can race it. And then they thought, well, what's the point of getting it road registered if you're never actually going to drive it on the road? So the next rule they sort of said, let's just make it so it's eligible for a pink slip. without actually having obtained one. And then, of course, they've done away with that now. So basically, the cars, whatever you can fit in it without altering the bodywork, and you run a control Yokohama tyre, that's basically as you run. So that's why you get you'll get like the Mark Short Datsun 1600. It's obviously got a bigger motor than a 1600, but it's turbo. So you can do that. As long as it comes from the parent company or the same company, you can run the cars.
Plenty of history here from years gone by at Mount Panorama as we watch them queued up on the Armorall Straight and underneath the Armorall Bridge. New South Wales Events certainly have done a great job in assisting this race meeting and making it all possible to happen at Mount Panorama. Well, Gary, we're just waiting for them to show the green flag down the rear of the field. We're just about to see that. There it is now. And that'll give them the opportunity to light up the board up the front. We'll see the lights go on in just a moment. And then we'll be racing here at Mount Panorama, and this will be a 7-lap race. Okay, so they've got 7 for this one. And just waiting, the lights are on, and here we go, waiting for the lights to go out. They're out, and they're off and racing, Gary.
And Walden's got the best start from the outside of the front row. Sneaks right across in front of Newman as they go towards the first corner. Short's got a good start in the Turbo Datsun too. He'll go into second spot. So Rick Newman should be third as they head up the mountain the first time. Just watch the power of this 5-litre Ford Falcon V8 as they go up the hill the first time. Big field of cars, 5, 6 wide as they head up Mountain Straight for the first time. Sam Mayo, one of the cars there who didn't qualify at all but has been progressing up the field, and already Newman out in front. The 2 cars behind him battling for second position. Walden goes underneath Short into the corner. The 2 HSVs following with Los Scalpo just ahead of Heinrich as they disappear up towards the cutting.
Just can't help but think, fellas, looking at these cars and the amount of cars and the variety of cars, it really goes back to the old touring car days here at Mount Panorama, doesn't it?
Well, I like to refer to them more as a chassis sports sedan sort of thing, except that they don't run hybrids. So basically, it's a car, it's a chassis. It runs the type of engine you can buy. You can go out and buy a Tirana and put a big Commodore motor in it or whatever. You know, that's the sort of thing it allows you to do. Sort of backyard sports sedans, if you like, but certainly on a control tyre. They're on a road radial as well, not on stick tyres as we see in some of the other categories. And we've got this good dice for second, great dice for third. Heinrich now trying to go under Los Scalpo as they head across Skyline the first time. This isn't Heinrich's car, by the way. It's he's driving it for a guy who's sorting it out for him. We've got 2 Group 3J cars, and the next one behind them, I think, from looking at it, is Jim Policina. He's in a 3E car. Lee Forrest in the Tasmanian Celica Turbo, the next one after him.
Newman running away with it out front at the moment, so it's going to be a great dice that we're looking at for second, third, and then third, fourth, fifth and sixth by the look of it. So we'll keep an eye on that for you and bring you up to date with that as that develops. But big contrast to what we've just seen, Dave, with the Formula Vs.
It certainly is. The field's very spread out very, very quickly already, Gary O'Brien, and you're just having a look at some of the cars we've pointed out before.
Well, I was going to mention yesterday's race was we had a local yellow down in the chase for about 3 or 4 laps of that race. James Peck in a Mazda clipped the inside wall in the right-hander and then slewed across the track and ended up on the inside of the left-hander, and they just ran a local yellow for that for the remainder of the race, and everyone sort of reasonably behaved themselves. There's a couple that came through a bit quick and went off into the grass. Heinrich down the outside of Los Scalpo into Murray's corner and trying to do it the long way, and looks like he's succeeded as Lee Forrest looms up on the back of those 2 as well. Forrest going the inside now to get past the HSV, and certainly the turbo's probably taking a little time to warm up, and it's starting to come on stronger as they head off on the second tour. In the meantime, Newman out in front by 4.2 seconds. His standing lap was faster than his fastest lap of yesterday. 2:30.40. He did a 2:28.3 or something in qualifying, so he's certainly on the money and not going to hang around and make it easy for him. He had a cruise yesterday, but today he's doing it a little bit without worrying about where everyone else is. Just do your own race, get out in front and go hard.
Well, his lead's going to be more than Conrod, isn't it, by the time we get to the end of the race, Dave? He might even be finishing when we've got the rest of the field coming off, say, the Dipper or somewhere there at the top of the mountain.
Well, just had a change of position, sorry, Dave, but Jamie Augustine just slipped up the inside of Policina as they went to the left-hander at the top of the cutting, and not a move you often see. I think the last time I've seen someone try that, it was the opposite way with Ambrose trying to go around the outside of Murphy. We know how that ended a few years ago.
Yeah, all very happily indeed, didn't it? Yeah, just go back to your point, Phil, of Newman continues. Hello, we are going to have a flag of some sort. We've got a car turning around
Griffin's Bend, yep.
Griffin's, yep.
Yeah, no, he looks like he'll be okay. He's just been spun on the inside.
Car number 35, and that is the car of Jerry Murphy, the HSV GTS VT. He's from New South Wales.
Yeah. A lot of flames from under that car when it ran around, but I'd say that's just fuel pouring out on the exhaust pipe. As you can see, anyone looking at the big screen will see it's dumped a load of fuel or it's blown an engine more than likely.
Yeah.
And the oil's caught fire as it's coming out the bottom, spun around onto the inside curbing, and then it's just let it run down the inside of the track and probably just leave it parked against the wall, I would say. No, turn around, got it going again.
I was just watching these two cars a little while ago as well. We'll come back to that one if we can. He's been pulled off a track. We've just been advised. Thanks, guys. The little Datsun, I was just watching that little white. It was wandering all over the circuit. He come up to one of the turns and the back end of the car snapped out, but he's not getting any loss in regards to that. He's way over the tail of this little Mazda guy.
He probably had the boost wound up on the turbo and it probably surprised him a little bit. But in the meantime, Walden and Short battling for second position. Nothing between these two as Rick Newman goes past us here, and his lead now is, start counting. Both, you need more than two hands to count how many seconds he's going to be in front this lap. As he goes past the gap, 9.9 seconds, so he's going away at just under 5 seconds a lap. Phenomenal time, and he's just done a 29.03, so he's getting down to qualifying time, already settled into lead. So just a quick rundown of where everyone is. We've got Ryan Newman in front, David Walden and Mark Short battling out for second spot, Bruce Heinrich, David Scalander from, 13 for 14th on the grid up to 5th now. Hello, Sam Mayo's just done a time that's blown everyone away, 2.3 second lap. Obviously, there's a problem there with the timing. He's in the black and silver AU, the other one now.
This is our second and third runners at the moment, and car number 19, Gary's gone around there and lost a heap of positions.
Wow, from second down to what effectively will be about... Oh, no, there's oil on the track there. That's what's causing a problem.
The car that's gone around.
Augustine had a big moment there, managed to salvage it. And, lucky they didn't hit the wall there. But I did notice, too, that Scalander was ahead of Heinrich. So he's up into third, effectively, on the road at the moment. And remember, that car has not got a rear spoiler on it because of the accident that happened in qualifying yesterday.
Well, they've done well not to end up in the wall, these two cars in second and third, haven't they? And our race leader as well has got through
he wouldn't have known about it.
Well, that's a very good point, fellas. I don't think there was a flag out at the time. Hopefully that's been addressed, the yellow and red flag saying there's a slippery surface, and the drivers will now be more than aware of the fact, and certainly this fellow in the little Mazda will be more than aware that there's some oil on the track.
I'd say be checking his driving suit out after this.
And it wasn't hugely obvious to us. When we saw the vision of the car going around and the flames coming out, it wasn't like there was liquid coming out from underneath the car. We didn't see anything on the circuit there, but obviously it has had an impact. And at the moment, the Datsun, Gary, has gone through clearly into second place. And here we go. There's the replay of the initial. So that's the incident that's led to some oil being on the track. Now, it doesn't look too bad, does it? But obviously there's enough there.
It must be back a bit, I'd say, where most of the oil is.
Yep.
Back further down the road. In the meantime, we got on the big screens Rick Newman coming through the chase, complete lap 3 of this 7-lap journey. 4 to go after this one. And his lead would even be further out now because of the delay by some of those cars up in the Griffin Bend area. David Scalander, I notice now, has a rear wing on his car. So that would attest to his pick up of pace. Now, when you're considering that Newman's doing 29s, very low 29s, and Scalander did a 31.7 on that last lap passing traffic. So that car is really going. If internet users get onto YouTube, you'll see footage of this car when it was brand new and it raced here last year, and just how much performance this car has in a straight line. It wasn't a great handler at that stage, but it ate up some cars going up and down the mountain.
Got to feel sorry for Walden, dropped back from second place into 7th place in car number 19 because of having that slide off up there at Griffin's.
Well, keep an eye on Scalander Commodore, because on that lap alone he was 3 seconds faster than Short, who's in second spot, and the gap between them is just over 2 seconds. So one would expect that Scalander will pick up second position on this lap, or the one after it. Rick Newman doesn't mind getting the tail out on the Newline Homes Ford Falcon AU as he goes out of the cutting, heads up towards Reed Park. Certainly you're not sparing the horses at this stage and wanting to make every post a winner as he heads down now towards McPhillamy, out on his own.
Car have a history of racing, or it's been built for this?
He raced it a couple of years ago up here at the FOSC meeting at Easter, and brained him up here. The car was all yellow then, didn't have the black on it that it has now, and I think the black really enhances the look of that car. Certainly a great looking motor car, and even if you're not a Ford person, you've got to appreciate that it does look a good looking jigger as it heads down into the dipper on this, the fourth occasion, well and truly in front. We're just waiting to see who's actually second on the road now. It still should be short, but Scalander was very close, and Bruce Heinrich wasn't far off him as well. So they've improved that car. Bruce, I was talking to him yesterday, and he said this thing's got plenty of horsepower, but it's not handling real well. But they're working on it, and that's, I guess, one of the reasons why Bruce is driving it this weekend as well.
Yeah, just looking at the sector times, fellas, where Heinrich was as opposed to Scalander, he was 0.4 of a second quicker, but I think overall he was about a second or so behind him as they were going through. So we could see that as we'll have a look as back up the mountain, up Conrod Straight. They're just coming out from the cutting now.
Well, interesting, yesterday's race, I stood over at the chase and watched it, and I was standing with Ray Hislop and a couple of other people, and when they seen the Falcon come down the first time and no sign of anyone running second for quite a while, they've gone, wow, he's got this much lead after one lap. So it would have been on between the pair of them, and unfortunately we won't get to see that. But in the meantime, we've got this good battle going, whether Scalander, Heinrich and Lee Forrest, I notice in the background, can catch Mark Short in that little Datsun 1600 Turbo. Warren Millett comes into the pits. He also failed to finish yesterday's race under similar circumstances, I suggest. There goes Mark Short, past us in the second spot, followed by David Scalander in the VS Commodore, the VZ Commodore of Heinrich next, and Lee Forrest in the Turbo Celica, all the way from Tassie. Ray Hislop and he coming here for years in tandem. Anthony Lofscalco and Sam Mayo, the next two, followed by Jamie Augustine and Jim Policina, would be position 9. And then we've got the A9X of... we're trying to get that done. Oh, of course, is that Barwick in position 10 at the moment? So we've had David Walden fall back further.
Yeah, problems.
We've lost
was
him.
in 7th place, and he's just dropping down the board now. So at the moment he's lying in 24th, so he's got to be stopped somewhere on the circuit.
Yep. Yeah, he's being pushed off the leaderboard as the cars go through. So unfortunately, the number 19 cars out of this one with just 2 and a bit laps to go for our leader. Newman has a lead of 13.85 seconds, and on the last lap, Gazzy was only a second or two quicker, so he's backed right off. The first lap really was the best one.
That's exactly right. And I noticed too that Graham Watts in the orange number 15 RX-7's dropped right down. He was 4th on the grid, but now currently running in 13th position, just behind Paul Rule in the A9X.
Still see the cars being very taily there going through Griffins. They're losing the front end as they come into the turn there, and then having to recatch. And interesting to see a couple of Magnas out there, the red and the white Magnas.
There's actually 3 of them out there. One's called Mr. Bits, it's his sponsorship, and I imagine they're a spare parts group for Mitsubishi cars in South Australia. I think they're all from South Australia, and of course been running around. They were former Group 3E cars many years ago, and have obviously been breezed on a little bit to make them a bit quicker, and running quite competitively in this category.
Yeah, and that's the red one that we're just talking about, the Mr. Bits at the moment, that's going off the top of Brock Skyline.
And it's just done an audacious move underneath the Bob Brewer HSV going into the right-hander over Skyline. Which
Being chased down, though, Gary, by a car you don't normally associate with speed and motorsport, a Holden Gemini.
No, that's a quick car, that Gemini, and it's in the under 2 litre part of this, is over a 2 litre and under 2 litre as well. Now you've got the Gemini of Burks with just behind him Scott Hunter in the Toyota, so they're actually battling for position in under 2 litres. So the good battles going on down there as well. Not too many of the under 2 litre cars here this weekend. Usually in New South Wales at least, improved production. Oh, the Falcon's gone off.
Hell Corner, we've had the Falcon go off. Now he had a lead of 13 seconds, a lot of dust there, and he's smoking it up, Gary, as he's disgusted with himself going off there.
I think he looks like he's just decoked the engine because of all the black smoke that came out over exhaust. He certainly got going again, but that's what happens when you get that far in front of everyone else. You just have a little lapse in concentration, and all of a sudden there it goes. And look at it, you can see this marauding group coming up behind him now. They're battling for second position. They're going all fairly slow. What's happening there?
I think it's just the point of view they're at. Maybe they also just got caught up with that dust cloud that Newman had pulled out, or is
that's,
there...
That's Augustine's car slowed right up by the look of it. Now, he was right up in the top 10 at one stage, dropped way down, but they seem to be going a bit slow for
Well,
my
they
liking.
would have just lost a lot of momentum with all the dust cloud.
Yes.
Probably had the boot out of it.
Probably in a state of shock, seeing this yellow Falcon coming back on the track not that far up the road from him. But anyway, Newman still has the lead. He's on lap 6, one to go after this, and we've still got this great battle for second, which I think now Scalander is ahead of... No, he's not. Short still just in front of the two. They were actually side by side, and whether they were a local yellow there and they couldn't pass and there was that slow car, that's probably what's happened. And they had to stay behind that slow car, so it just held them up, and it's given Newman back the advantage that he needed.
Yep. And Forrest has dropped out of this one a little bit in the Celica. We can just see him falling behind in car 144 a little. That gap's blown out to about 3 seconds now. But a great job being done by Short to hold his position second place.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got to take your hat off to Bruce Heinrich. We know he's a good driver, and here he is in a car that shouldn't be as quick as the car in front of him, and we're just having a replay of something happening down in the chase. These two we're talking about, they're battling for under 2 litre. They've had a touch, and Burks has come out the worst of those two, and Scott Hunter takes over the front running there in under 2 litre, I think. No, Jeff Fear's actually leading. They must have been fighting for second position in under 2 litre.
Well, not much time left in this particular race. We've seen Newman almost throw it away at Hill Corner.
He's slowing right up too.
They've
caught him right up,
haven't they?
They have, and Short can sense victory, so he locks up a break, and no, he's got to go a little bit harder, but there'll be one lap to go as they go past, as one of the Honda Civics comes into the pits.
We'll see what the time is this time round. 2:29.09 was the last lap. So how much time did he effectively lose, Newman, when he was in the sand? And there goes the time on the board now, and 2:56. So, okay, finish of the race. So they've pulled it there. Lap short, and
look at the rear wheel on the Falcon. He's got a problem with the rear end of that. That's why he slowed up so much.
So he's pretty happy that it finished when it did.
It looks like the front wheel's got a problem. I'd say he's banged the wall somewhere, and as a result, it's gone off into turn 1. Yeah, that's what I would assume from here.
Oh,
certainly the rear wheel's got a problem.
Oh, he's definitely had a touch of some sort. There's no body damage, I guess, so... Maybe, we've also had someone else just underneath the Armour All Bridge has turned around, one of the Commodores, right in the middle of the track as well.
Oh, that's just out of the chase too. Not much room left on the road when you put one of them across it, is there?
And he's not prepared to
start
that
Gus Barbera in the HSV coupe.
Is it the wheels turned around, or have you just got the wheels?
Yeah, it's turned the wheel.
There we go. This is a replay. He's come around.
No, he doesn't get a touch there.
Yeah,
he does. Yeah, he does get a touch.
Oh, got a hit too. They've 3 of them involved. Burke's involved in that as well. And 2 of them got going, and he was probably the innocent party out of all that, although he did have a bit of attitude on the car when it happened.
Back off the track, turns him into the rear end of the Monaro, and RX-7 into the wall, takes out the rear end of the Gemini. Commodore turns around. RX-7 says, thank you, I'll slip on through. And that's that.
Well, I'd say that a few people got a bit of work to do because they've got another race on this afternoon, and including our race winner.
Yeah, well, good bit of vision captured by our cameramen there to get that one on screen for us, and we'll wait for that car to be cleared. Well, Ryan Newman took it out, Gary, but it was 26 seconds slower on that last lap as a result of getting into the sand there at Hell Corner.
Yeah, certainly. He still had enough up his sleeve. See, that he went hard early, so he had a good break on, and he's come home still 2.2 seconds in advance of Mark Short in the Datsun. And, of course, we've had Dave Scalander and Bruce Heinrich, the next two across the line, just ahead of Lee Forrest.
So here's Griffin's Bend, Dave. They're checking it out now to just see what the track condition is.
Yeah, certainly appears to be the case. Some of our officials out there having a bit of a look and not really seeing any fluid, I have to say, though, Phil. So just wondering if there's... maybe something else that's come out from underneath that car might have impacted on a couple of others.
It was certainly slippery. There are a number of cars we saw come through in later laps that were definitely going to the outside of the circuit through the corner.
What you'll find too is that because the cars have gone over the oil, it soaks up fairly quickly, and in this sort of heat it would dissipate fairly fast, I would say. I dare say they'll find any oil up there at the moment.
Yeah, well, they're having a very good look anyway, and there's a bit of a line of something there, but... Yeah, an interesting situation from that car, but unfortunately for some of the other guys, it only happened on the last lap as it tends to happen, Gary.
Yeah, an interesting race, and certainly, as I said, They certainly still put on big numbers and good racing, but we just lost that little bit of oomph with those two Fords not battling it out, and been a bit disappointed about that, but there's still plenty going on there, and of course they made it quite interesting in their own right with Newman having his difficulties as well.
A little bit of fluid coming from under the Monaro there, so they'll have to be retrieving that car soon. So that's going to bump us back just a little bit.